Hey, Kurt. Just wanted to touch base with you as a quarterback and you in the role of the color commentary still. And I think you just said 27 years later, however long you've been doing it. Do you still find yourself reading the defenses as they break their huddle and then do you try not to talk over, let's just say Chris, and because you see what they're doing and want to share your knowledge and experience, and if you just don't mind elaborating on how you watch the game?
Yeah, that's a great question, and yeah, Mike Tirico. When I first started doing games, I was lucky enough to be with Mike Tirico and a producer named Tim Corrigan, and I was in my 20s, and I'd never called a high school game, let alone calling a game on a Thursday night on ESPN. And Mike and Tim, they just said, listen, all we want you to do is tell us how or why the play unfolded. That's just stay in that lane. That's all we want you to really think about to help the viewer watch the game. And so that's kind of how I started. I'm not really big on interrupting the play-by-play guy. As a fan, when I sit on a couch and I watch the game, if I'm watching, local telecasts or radio, I don't mind the guy in the background yelling. If it's a local game, I think that's kind of fun and it provides some passion. But if you're doing a national game, it's just the way my personal preference. I like to give the play-by-play guy his time and his lane to set the scene, to call the game. If you ever notice when a touchdown, especially if it's a home team scores a touchdown, I immediately lay out, not because I'm happy or I'm sad or whatever. It's more of I lay out so our director can cut shots and show the emotion of the game. And then either right before the extra point or right after the extra point, we might hit a replay and kind of talk about what just happened on that touchdown. But because I've done it for so many years, I'm so tuned in to not just my role as an analyst. I'm tuned into the play-by-play guy. I'm thinking about the director. I'm thinking about everybody because I don't want to get in the way of anybody in doing their job and trying to make it the better broadcast that we can. So, no, I try to a fault of not getting in the way of Al or Chris or anybody I've ever worked with. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm right away as soon as the huddle breaks. If there is a huddle, I'm looking at the safeties. I'm seeing if the corners have depth, if they bring in a blitz. I'm looking at it, and then because if you think about it, Charlie, I have, I don't know, 6 seconds to think of a thought, and about 8 seconds or 10 seconds to say that thought for 3.5 or 4 hours, and so anything I can do before the snap to help me understand analytically and schematically what just happened, and then to try to say it in layman's terms so my mom can understand or my wife can understand. That's the other thing, is I'm not going to say 3 technique or inverted safety or too high shell. Like if I say anything that's football terms, I always try to follow it up with what I mean by that, just because I think so many people don't really understand what some of those terms are. So I try to do it in a way that a coach can understand and enjoy it, and also someone who doesn't understand it can hopefully learn something and enjoy watching the game. But I definitely want to stay out of the way. That's for sure.